Hi, I'm Michelle Isenhoff, a children's novelist from right here in Wayland, and the book from which I'm going to read takes place right here in Wayland. It's the second in a trilogy of Civil War fiction set within Michigan. And without further ado, here's Broken Ladders, Book 2 in the Divided Decade trilogy. Chapter 1. One honest glimpse of freedom has the power to twist life into a coyote trap. Routines that once gave Hannah Wallace a measure of contentment now ensnared her, dulling her imagination, chaining her painfully in place. In contrast, her brother bounded down the street like a rabbit freed from a cage. Hannah watched him with a mingling of jealousy and pride. He looked dashing in his Sunday best, buttons gleaming, hat set at a rakish angle, newly shined boots kicking up puffs of dust. He was young, handsome, and off to save the Union. Oh, what she wouldn't give to be leaving town with him. Seth had only been 17 when the fighting first broke out. Not old enough to join up without lying, like his friend Jameson Coops had done. Folks signed up in droves, afraid the war would end before they had a chance to make a name for themselves. Seth had begged and pleaded, cried and even swore, but Pa stood firm. War was dirt and illness and sweat and killing, and no underage boy of his was going to participate. Pa's pessimism didn't dampen Seth's enthusiasm any, but his sharp eye did keep him from sneaking off, so the boy had to wait. Then, early this summer, the recruiters came back. Soon as Seth heard, he let out a whoop, dropped his pitchfork, and lit out for town. Hannah tagged along, positively green with envy, and watched him set his name down with a flourish. His lopsided grin sparkled with charm and innocence. With a Wallace man in the mix, he boasted, the war will be over in no time. That's the spirit, the recruiter encouraged. After a year of fighting, volunteers had grown scarce. Returning veterans advertised the destruction of warfare too well. The dead spoke even louder. I wish I had 10,000 more boys like you, son. Won't need 'em, sir. Seth swelled with pride and confidence. I'll lick those rebs myself, all the way back to Richmond. I'm going to skip a few pages here, where Hannah meets her friend Wes. Wes straightened, suddenly serious. Is that your pa joining up with the boys? Hannah had seen him too, and some of the color faded from the banners. What's it look like? She snapped. I thought he didn't hold with fightin' any more than my pa. He doesn't. Then why is he in there? The fellows rankle him too much? Hannah didn't answer. Pa had taken some ribbing off a few of the neighbors. They said his son was a braver man than he was, but Hannah knew that wasn't why he signed his name. The real reason was to keep an eye on Seth and to make sure he didn't get his fool head blown off. She had heard him say as much to Mama that very morning as they lingered alone at the breakfast table. The wheat should pay off the debt, Amelia, he had said. Right now our son needs me more than this farm does. It's not the farm I'm worried about, Henry. Hannah had chosen that moment to barge into the room. Missed a page. Hannah had chosen that moment to barge into the room, causing her father to slosh his coffee. It's not fair, she cried. Mama sighed. Not you too, child. Her eyes were red. You and Seth both get to go off and do something important, but I'm going to be stuck on this farm for the rest of my life. I wish I was a boy. Pa wiped his hand with a handkerchief, then turned to face her. His voice was as rich and brown as soil. First of all, you're only 12 years old, too young for war, even if you were a boy. And second, you've just named 2 good reasons why you're needed here at home. With Seth and I both gone, your mama is going to need your help more than ever. Hannah crossed her arms spitefully. She's got Joel and Justin, she said, naming her older and younger brothers. And Maddie's moving home too. They can help her. Pa stood and rested his hands on Hannah's shoulders. It's noble of you to want to fight, honey, but the North is going to need a different kind of help from you. The Union will need what this farm can produce. How do you think the Army gets its bread, its meat, its horses? You will be serving your country right here. She had looked up at her father with tears swimming in her eyes, and it hadn't taken him long to discover the real reason for her tears. Ah, Peanut, he said, pulling her against him in a tight embrace. I'll miss you too, more than anything. That made the tears overflow. Don't go, Pa. It was one thing for Seth or Tommy to go seeking for adventure, but Pa, he belonged here with his family, with her. Pa pulled her chin up and wiped her eyes with his sleeve. I won't be gone forever, darling. I'll be home before you know it, and it will help me to know you're being brave. She had promised, but now, watching her father join the others, her resolve felt fragile as straw. Your pa should have stayed home, Wes frowned. He's 39 for crying out loud. My brother says the old ones are the first to get sick. Tears burned Hannah's eyes. Shut up, Wes Carver. You don't know anything. She punched him hard and flew across the fields toward home as her father took his first step down the long, long road to Allegan. If you'd like more information about the Divided Decade trilogy or any of my other books, you can visit my website, MichelleIsenhoff.com, or Google my blog, Bookworm Blather, or ask any of our wonderful librarians to help you find them right here in Hennica Library. If you have an e-reader, Book 1 of the trilogy, The Candlestar, is now free on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in most places where ebooks are sold.